Hi, I tried posting this on another related subreddit and it was removed. I read the rules here and I'm very sure it doesn't violate any for this sub. Please mods, if you want to remove this, let me know why. I'm trying to find support for the turmoil I'm feeling, and I don't know who else to turn to but anonymous people on the internet. Anyway, here goes. I met my wife in 2011. I was DJing a social event at school and playing some 90s rocks. I was playing Third Eye Blind and my wife liked the song that came on. She talked to me, we bonded over our mutual love of the band, yada yada, we started dating. Fast forward to 2013, we got engaged and we took a trip and to celebrate. We have this memory we talk about a lot of listening to the whole Third Eye Blind catalog and singing along to all the songs together. We got married that year. Fast forward through our whole marriage, we had this thing where we would try to see the band as much as we could. We saw them whenever they were on tour, a total of 9 times during our 9 years of marriage. Last night we were supposed to see them for the 10th time. If you're the math in your head, we've been married for 10 years as well. That's coming up in November, so I had this whole thing planned where we would go see the show, stay over at a hotel, have a romantic night. I get home from work on Friday. My wife is getting ready. She looks amazing. I see a text come on her phone. You know how the rest of the story goes, I don't even want to type it. She met some guy the night before when I was away for work. The part that killed me the most was she wrote that he needed to get condoms, and he's LOL. So I'm left wondering, did they even use any? What does it matter anymore anyway? After reading that, I just left the house and started for the concert. She calls me about 15 minutes later like, where are you? Oh, just on the way to the show. What? Why? You know why. Think long and hard as to why I might be acting this way. I just hang up. Anyway, I think I was in shock still. I was pretty cool about it. But there's some backstory there I don't want to get into as to why I was prepared. She's cheated twice before in the past. I didn't really have any emotions at the time. Actually, when I started typing, this was the first time I felt anything. So she calls back and starts going through the motions. Oh, we are just friends. Oh, we didn't actually do it. Oh, I was drunk. Oh, it was just in a little bit. Then it was all, come back and let's talk about this like adults, as if I'm the childish one for having stormed out. I'm thinking, no. If that happens, I'm not seeing this show. We're just going to talk about how she cheated and she's going to try and seduce me. And that thought grossed me out. I never thought about sex with my wife and felt gross, but then I did. So I got to the concert and the guy scanned my ticket. He looks at me and says, there's 2, indicating that he wanted to scan the other one. I just stared at him blankly and said, yes, there's 2, and went inside. I was so weird, I felt like I was hypnotized. And then there was the show. Amazing show. I had a good time. I met some nice people in my row, and we had a fun time enjoying the concert together. Some lyric hit a little differently. I've never been so alone, and I've never felt more alive. I felt pretty alive at the concert. I danced with the crowd and screamed my frustrations into the loudspeakers. No one could hear me over the loud rock music. It was over pretty early. I wanted to sit at the bar and drink, but that would have required talking to someone, and I just couldn't outside of the context of the concert. I was thinking about the texts again. So I went to the hotel I had booked for my wife and I, and went to sleep alone. I woke up to about 30 emails. She was up all night feeling all kinds of emotions, I guess. Guilt, shame, anger at me. Those were the most surreal, the ones where she was mad at me for going through her phone. A lot of bargaining and pleading. The worst was she had sent me cards I had written for her years before. Anniversary cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards. I always handwrote a letter for her, professing my love for her. I never used to write anyone cards like these, but I did for her. She used to write cards like these for me. She hasn't in a number of years. I think her intent was that upon reading the cards, my heart would soften and I would realize how much I loved her. I would come to my senses and come to her, and we would talk it through, and I would forgive her, and it would all be better. But instead, it just made me realize how much she doesn't love me. At this point, I can't forgive her. I forgave her once, and here we are. If I forgive her again, it's just a matter of when, not if. I'm back in this same scenario, writing sob stories on Reddit. The only question now is whether I respect myself to make sure this never happens to me again. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like. And now next story. Me with my wife of 5 years. I know she's cheating on me. I can't bring myself to confront her. I met my wife 7 years ago at a party. She was the out-of-your-league girl no one hit on, and I was the awkward boy in the corner trying to not stare. Eventually, she was introduced to me by the host. We bonded over a shared love of darts, went on a few dozen platonic outings together, and after one beer and darts-filled night a year later, we wound up in her bed and in a relationship. A year later, she proposed to me. She's the power person in our relationship. I am working as a chocolatier. She's a vice president in a larger corporation. She works long days and longer nights. I cook and keep the house clean, and work 5 days a week in a small artisanal shop downtown. We're pretty high-end, so I am making good money, but she's making way more than twice of my salary. So she buys the toys for the house, including a new set-top box for the TV. The set-top box has a screensaver mode where it rotates pictures in your Apple photo library. Last week, she was still at work. I came home from my day and the TV, which I'd used to watch a YouTube video that morning and definitely had turned off, was on screensaver. On it were pictures that must come from her phone, showing her, in our living room, one of our female friends, and a guy I've never met in very explicit poses. The pictures moved around the room, so I think there must have been a fourth person taking pictures with her phone, but I didn't see the person. What was weird was that she was wearing a bandage on her hand, something she'd done that morning after complaining about RSI. I left the TV on and was very shocked, but decided to leave the screensaver and see what she had to say when she came home later that evening. When she came home, the pictures seemed to have disappeared. They haven't shown up anymore since then on the TV. I asked her if she'd been home during the day, because the TV was on, and she said she'd come home during lunch to pick up a USB stick she'd forgotten in her computer at home. I tried to ask her about the pictures, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Now, I have to add something. I'm not a very experienced person in sex matters. I am an introvert and barely had relationships before her. Our sex life is, though, even for my experiences, very vanilla. I never have had oral sex in my life before and only twice since we met. Suggesting it to her usually meant that she'd lecture me about not doing those things, and sex for the night was a no-go. In those pictures, she did all the things she never wanted to do with me. Since that day, I have tried to confront her a number of times. She stays out longer, lately, not just since last week, for the past 4 months maybe, and she's often too tired for anything romantic, even just cuddling. And when she comes home, she often disappears in her office and comes to bed long after I have fallen asleep. But even during the time we had together, like this weekend, I can't bring myself to confront her. I am worried about what I might hear and what this would mean for our relationship. I still love her very much and can't imagine a life without her. How can I summon the courage to do this? Is there a way out of this? Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like. And now, next story. My wife cheated and is now pregnant. Long story short, my wife Anna cheated on me. I don't know why. She says she doesn't know why either. Anytime I ask anything, it's just a river of tears. She says sorry and begs me to forgive her and forget it, but I can't. But leaving hasn't been easy either. We have 2 boys together. She's my high school sweetheart. Our families are longtime friends and are still tight with each other. They've all urged me to stay for the kids, to forgive her since it was one time, to not give up all the good because of one bad. But the worst part is she's pregnant. I found out about the pregnancy from my mother as I had her blocked and wasn't living in the same house anymore. I demanded a paternity test. She readily agreed and swore she'd get rid of the child if it's not mine. She's had nothing but curse words for her affair partner. But then, all she's done since getting caught, didn't confess, is curse the guy and herself and cry. She's threatened to end herself. All she does is hug the boys and cry. I'm waiting on the results. I'll divorce her anyway, but she says the baby is for sure mine. That she slept with him once, whereas we've been intimate pretty much every night the duration of her affair. It lasted 2 months, I think. They met, talked, and slept only once if I'm to believe her. I don't know why, but the idea of the child being mine disgusts me. It feels like she couldn't commit to anything. Not to me nor the other guy. Why was she cheating if I was satisfying her? How is it that she wanted to talk about her feelings with some random man but not me? How is she sharing her deepest thoughts and feelings with this guy and being with me at once? How does that even work? I've always thought cheating was because you weren't being fulfilled by your partner at home. I've read all these stories of wives leaving their kids, denying affections to their husbands, making jokes at the husband's expense, ruining the men financially, etc. She's done nothing of that sort. She's still the best mother I could have hoped for my sons. They love her more than they love me, I know. She was still the same loving and giving woman I fell for while she was being with the other guy. I saw her texts, the one she hadn't deleted, and every other text is, "I love my husband." I don't understand. I can't make heads or tails of this situation. If I did give her a baby, am I expected to forget and move back in? What if I can't do that? It's easy hating the child now because that might be her APs. But what if it's mine and I still hate it? I genuinely don't know how to be without her. Our entire lives are interwoven. Some days I want to go back to the blissful ignorance I was living in. The DNA report takes a week, I believe. It's been 3 days. My sister, she visits Anna regularly. I'm angry about that too because she's only visited me twice. Says my wife just looks at our wedding photos and cries. We have a whole junkyard collection worth of pictures and memories. She begged me to go see her once. I am clueless of how to proceed. It would have been so much easier if she had been a horrible woman for those 2 months that I could begin to look back and hate. But I can't. Life had been as normal and sweet as ever. I don't even have a bad memory of her I can use to hate her. Our last big fight before this, I can't even remember. I'm going to see her and my boys tomorrow. I think I'll ask for DNA tests on them too. I know they're mine, but you never know. Maybe I'll do it just to hurt her. Maybe I'll find something and I'll just hurt myself more. But that feels so unfair to the boys. Just how do I make sense of this? Edit. I called her. She was crying again but agreed to meet with me. I told her I was going with divorce one way or another. But whether we can ever reconcile a few years later or not fully depends on her honesty. She was crying and her voice sounded rough. But after a while she said she will tell me everything. So she does know why she did it. But for some reason, she asked me to bring my sister along. My sister hasn't said anything either. I'm only praying my sister doesn't turn out to be an accomplice or something. She didn't beg for forgiveness or say, think about our kids, after I told her how manipulative she's sounding. She seemed genuinely shocked to realize how she was holding me hostage with her threats. Does that mean something deeper? Are they actions of someone who has remorse? Edit. I talked to her. She showed me all the evidence, and I found out which the man was. I am certain now that she was in fact assaulted. However, Anna doesn't seem to think so. She says she didn't fight back and had goaded him, which made him attack her. I cannot update because Reddit is being strange. I have decided to put everything on hold for now and just take her counseling. Nothing else until I get the paternity results on the baby. Thank you so much for all the advice.